You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Friday the 11th of July 2025 and you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I'm really going to be very quick today because I'm off on holiday, basically. So later on today, I shall be driving up to Northumberland to do all sorts of stuff, which I'll talk to you about from tomorrow. In the meantime, I'd like to draw your attention to a recent ambient reading, which is like an audiobook with sound effects, that was made available of a short story in my friend T.G. Campbell's Bow Street Society Casebook series. I narrated this for her and it actually sounds all right. I think I have a propensity to gabble sometimes when I'm reading, but as my director, she clearly managed to make me perform it slightly better than I normally do, certainly when I'm doing a live stream. Anyway, it's really good. I'm going to let you hear the first sort of 7 minutes of it, and there are links in the show notes to the whole ambient reading, which is about 40 minutes long. Thank you for listening. Here's the clip of the audiobook, and I shall be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Mr. O'Mooney wet his lips and grimaced. The rottenness of sulphur mixed with the saltiness of tears filled his mouth as dirt coated his tongue. Swallowing, he felt his throat constrict in protest before a dry heave forced a large globule of brown saliva from his lips. Holding his knees, he spat out the remaining foulness, cleared his throat and pulled his scarf over his mouth and nose. As he then dried his tears, his sore, red eyes gazed into the impenetrable yellow smog that erased the cobblestones and deafened him with its silence. Where am I? He glanced over his shoulder, but saw only smog. Mercer Street, he said in a quiet voice. Yeah, must be. He held out his hands and shuffled forward. Suddenly, the toe of his boot struck something hard, causing him to grunt in pain. Bloody smog, he muttered under his breath as he used his foot to feel along whatever he had kicked. Assuming it to be the pavement's edge, he slid his foot forward and felt more solid ground. Reassured, he stepped onto it with both feet and held out his hands as he shuffled forward once more. Within moments, his fingertips felt a smooth, cold surface. Holding his hands flat against it, he slowly slid them downward until he felt a different texture. Tackier than the first, it stretched out to the sides at a few inches width. Coupling it with a smooth surface, he assumed he was at a shop's plate glass window. The parade of shops he passed by daily on Mercer Street then sprang into his mind's eye. Cupping his hands against the glass, he rested his face upon them and peered into the shop. Once his eyes had adjusted to the gloom, he could see many silhouetted shoes placed upon stands of various heights and sizes. Grant & Son, the cobblers. A prickling sensation swept across his body at the realisation. Pulling back from the glass, he looked skyward and mumbled, "Thank you, God." A glance to the smog on his right, though, reminded him of the challenge still to come. Not home yet, lad. Keeping his palms close to the shop's facade, he sidestepped along it to its neighbour, and so on until he touched air. Finding the blunt corner of the rough brickwork, he shuffled around it to enter the next street before repeating his navigational method to find his way along it. When he felt air for the second time, he hesitated. If this is Shadwell High Street, I'm going to have to cross the road. He felt the pit of his stomach tighten. But if it's not, I've still got to keep going. A shiver coursed through his body. Come on, lad. He stretched out his right arm and, resuming his sidestepping, felt along the ground with his foot until he came to the pavement's edge. He stepped down onto the cobblestoned road and turned to his right. That's it, lad. He tentatively shuffled forward, just across here. Feeling the toe of his boot nudge something hard, he then traced the pavement's edge with his foot before stepping cautiously onto it. As he did so, his shoulder encountered a lamppost that threatened to send him off balance. Swiftly gripping it with both hands, he clung onto the cold, damp metal as he tried to gather his bearings. The lamppost must be on the corner. He stepped around it and, holding it behind his back, took a few moments to consider his next move. Eventually, he took a small sidestep to the left and shuffled forward with his hands held out. For some time, he continued to touch air, his arms moving in all directions as he searched for something, anything solid to cling onto. Finally, his boot struck something hard, prompting him to hurl himself at whatever it was he'd found. Feeling a sudden compression of his chest, followed by sharp stinging in his cheek, he realised he'd struck a brick wall. Clinging onto its rough edges, he pictured himself spread across it like a fly caught in a spider's web, and smirked. It's a good thing no one can see me. A dog barked in the distance, thereby pulling Mr. O'Mooney back to reality. Feeling a newfound confidence in his route, he continued his journey up the street, around the corner and along the next street. When he once again touched air, he felt his heart skip a beat. Almost there. He shuffled across the pavement, stepped down onto the cobbled road and tentatively walked across Charles Place, towards the gate to Peabody Square, or so he hoped. "Who goes there?" a man's voice yelled from the smog. It was like warmth being poured onto Mr. O'Mooney's numb ears. Rushing forward, he cried, "It's I, Mr. Allen." "Mr. O'Mooney?" Mr. Allen inquired, stunned, as he materialised from the smog. "Yes," Mr. O'Mooney panted as he gripped the porter's shoulder. "Thank you, God, for seeing to my safe return." Mr. Allen's grey-green eyes were concerned as he watched him catch his breath. From behind a scarf, he stated, "I didn't expect you to return until the morning." "It may as well be the time it has taken me to walk from the station." Mr. O'Mooney wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. "Is the gas lit?" "Aye." "Good. I've had my fill of stumbling around. I wonder how you can stand it all the night, Mr. Allen." "The smog hides the likes who've no business being here, so someone's got to be on the gate to keep 'em out. Superintendent Reed's decided that's me. The peace of mind and bit extra it gives puts me in no mind to complain, though." Mr. Allen guided Mr. O'Mooney through the gate. "Mind how you go now. There'd be no hope of finding you if you took a tumble." "Thank you. Good night." "Good night." The dwellings in Peabody Square were housed within 4 detached, inwardly facing blocks to form a fragmented courtyard. Mr. O'Mooney resided with his wife and children in the south block. Relying on memory alone to guide him, he shuffled forward in a straight line from the gate until his hands felt the brickwork of the block's rear. Once again, he kept his hands close to the wall as he sidestepped his way around the building to its front. In spite of the cold, he felt the tension in his body ease with each step. Visions of his wife holding a steaming bowl of stew by a roaring fire filled his mind's eye, quickening his pace. The sound of sliding wood suddenly penetrated the near silence of the deserted square. Distinguishing the faint glow of the gas lamps on either side of the south block's main door, Mr. O'Mooney pressed onward with little thought to what he'd heard. "I shall never let you go," a man's voice said close by. Almost there. Yet, as Mr. O'Mooney came within arm's reach of his destination, a terrifying scream sent him leaping backward into a stumble. Falling onto his coccyx, the horrific thud and violent crunch he heard a moment later cut short his sharp cry. Staring wide-eyed into the smog, he felt his blood run cold.
You have been listening to the Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.